Austin Allegro. Let's be honest, calling the Austin Allegro cute and cuddly is a bit like calling a blender graceful. It's a stretch, a big one, but there's no denying that the Allegro had a sort of rotund charm, a plump, slightly lumpy shape that looked like it was trying really hard to win over suburban families in the 70s. Imagine a loaf of bread with wheels, and you're halfway there. Now, British Leland, bless him, had an entire buffet of car brands at its disposal. Austin, Morris, Triumph, Rover. You name it, they had it. But instead of creating a dream team of design brilliance, they somehow managed to produce a car that looked like it had time-traveled straight from a dystopian version of the 1960s. It was as if the designers were locked in a bunker, fed only tinned beans and disco music, and were told, make a car, but don't look outside. One of the Allegro's most infamous features? The legendary Cortex steering wheel. That's right, rectangular. A rectangle, as if someone had looked at the perfectly round steering wheel and said, too convenient. Let's make it weird. British Leland claimed this quirky shape saved legroom. Critics claimed it saved no one from ridicule. Try parallel parking with a wheel that looks like it came off a vintage arcade machine. It's a core workout. And then there's the nickname. The Allegro was affectionately, or not so affectionately, dubbed the Flying Pig. Not because it soared. Oh no, but because, like the mythical flying swine, the idea of it being a sleek, desirable car was, well, laughably improbable. The car didn't exactly fly, and it certainly wasn't winning any beauty contests. It was like the designers dared each other to make the car look just slightly worse every time it was revised. Let's move the wheels in a bit. Yeah, now raise it up. Perfect. It looks like it's wearing orthopedic shoes. In the end, the Austin Allegro wasn't just a car. It was a moment in automotive history. A slightly awkward, oddly shaped, deeply misunderstood moment. But hey, at least it tried. And maybe, just maybe, that's what makes it kind of lovable? Kind of. Maybe. Okay, not really. City cars might feel like a modern solution to today's overstuffed parking lots and gas prices that make your wallet cry. But believe it or not, the idea has been buzzing around for decades. Way back in 1958, Subaru threw their tiny hat into the ring with the adorably absurd Subaru 360, a microcar so small and so strange. It looked like something you'd win from a claw machine. In its homeland of Japan, the 360 was affectionately nicknamed the Ladybug, which is cute until you realize the comparison wasn't just about size. Like its insect namesake, it was lightweight, slightly awkward, and if you saw one coming at you, your first instinct was probably to squish it. But hey, it had a certain 50s charm. If your definition of charm includes a top speed barely capable of outrunning a strong breeze, a two-stroke engine that sounded like an annoyed lawnmower, and styling that screamed, I was designed during a lunch break. Still, Subaru wasn't content just leaving it at the original coupe. Oh no, someone in the design department got ambitious, or maybe just bored, and decided the world needed more of this thing. So they made a convertible, and yes, even a van version. That's right, a van. A microvan. Because clearly, what this jelly bean on wheels needed was cargo space. Despite the creative body styles, the front end remained exactly the same, like it was permanently surprised to still be on the road. Now, you'd be forgiven for thinking K-cars like this only existed in Japan, and that no red-blooded American would willingly drive something that could be blown away by a sneeze. But you'd be wrong. Somehow, Subaru managed to export 10,000 of these tiny terrors to the U, and even convince people to buy them. Americans, in the land of V8S and freeway merges. The 360 was even marketed as cheap and cheerful, which is a nice way of saying it won't kill your bank account, but it might kill your spirit. Road and Track famously reviewed it, and weren't exactly glowing in their praise, unless you count phrases like, not recommended for anything other than short commutes and lighthearted laughs. But in a weird way, the Subaru 360 is kind of legendary. It was an early step toward accessible, efficient, city-friendly cars, and it paved the way for other K cars and compact concepts. It's a symbol of bold thinking, tiny engines, and enormous bravery from anyone who dared to take it on the highway. A victim of its designer's overly ambitious vision of the future, The AMC Pacer stands as one of the more unusual and polarizing vehicles to emerge from the American auto industry in the 1970s. Conceived during a time of rising fuel prices and increasing interest in compact, efficient cars, the Pacer aimed to offer the interior comfort of a full-size sedan within the footprint of a subcompact. On paper, this sounded like a bold and forward-thinking idea. In execution, however, the results were mixed at best and downright odd at worst. One of the most notable design choices was the car's width. The Pacer was unusually wide for a compact vehicle, about as wide as many traditional sedans of the time. Yet its body length was significantly reduced. This disproportionate combination resulted in a squat, awkward silhouette that gave the car a strangely bloated, almost cartoonish appearance. The styling was further exaggerated by its massive glass area, which wrapped around the car like a bubble. While this did allow for excellent visibility and a bright, airy cabin, it also earned the Pacer the enduring nickname, the Flying Fishbowl. In an effort to maximize interior room, the design featured extremely short front and rear overhangs. While this did help create a surprisingly spacious seating arrangement for 4 adults, it came with trade-offs. The truncated design compromised luggage capacity and threw off the vehicle's visual balance, making it look like a car that had been compressed from either end. Despite the forward-thinking intentions, such as asymmetrical doors for easier rear access and a focus on passenger comfort, the aesthetic awkwardness and questionable practicality kept many buyers at bay. The Pacer's styling, which was seen as futuristic in the design studios, didn't resonate well with the general public. Instead of being embraced as a sleek, innovative compact, it became an object of ridicule and a symbol of design excess. Though it has since found a second life as a cult classic, thanks in part to pop culture appearances and a nostalgic appreciation for its quirky charm, the AMC Pacer ultimately stands as a cautionary tale. That thinking ahead is admirable, but execution, balance, and public taste are just as important. Many automotive brands have drawn inspiration from the animal kingdom when it comes to naming their cars, often choosing creatures that symbolize strength, elegance, and speed. Names like Jaguar, Panther, and Mustang instantly conjure images of sleek, powerful predators and wild, untamed freedom, attributes that automakers hope will translate to their vehicles. Marcos, however, chose to break from this well-trodden path. Rather than aligning itself with majestic beasts or fierce carnivores, the British manufacturer turned to a less obvious corner of the natural world: insects. In 1970, Marcos unveiled the Mantis, a sports car that, while ambitious in its engineering, took a bold stylistic direction that left many scratching their heads. Named after the praying mantis, the car attempted to reflect its namesake's distinctive, angular presence. Underneath its unconventional skin, the Mantis featured some surprisingly modern and forward-thinking features for its time. It was built on a lightweight tubular chassis, utilized glass fiber bodywork to keep the weight down, and offered buyers the option of a powerful Rover V8 engine, delivering respectable performance by contemporary standards. However, despite these technical merits, the Mantis suffered from a fundamental problem: its appearance. The styling was dominated by large, protruding headlights and awkward proportions that earned it the unfortunate nickname of being bug-eyed. While the design might have been intended to stand out in a crowded sports car market, it ultimately alienated many potential buyers. In an era when looks played a significant role in automotive appeal, the Mantis simply failed to capture the imagination of the car-buying public. Sales figures reflected this disconnect. Only 117 units were ever sold, a clear indicator that the Mantis's offbeat looks outweighed its mechanical strengths. Unfortunately, this would not be the only misstep for Marcos. Over the years, the company produced a number of other niche vehicles that, while inventive in certain respects, often struggled to achieve widespread appeal or commercial success. Despite a dedicated fan base and a reputation for innovation, Marcos could never quite break through to the mainstream. The company eventually ceased operations in 2007, closing the final chapter in a story marked by creativity, courage, and a fair share of controversial design choices. The Mantis, while far from commercial hit, remains a quirky and memorable footnote in the history of British sports cars. A reminder that thinking outside the box can be a double-edged sword. The Chevrolet Chevette is widely remembered as a bare-bones, underpowered economy car with few redeeming qualities. Yet somehow, Donald Steinbach managed to make it worse. Enter the Lita Cabalero, a bizarre and unfortunate attempt to transform the humble Chevette into a luxury coupe. Steinbach applied copious amounts of oversized plastic body panels in an effort to give the car an upscale look, but the result was anything but elegant. The front grille was awkward, the proportions clumsy, and the rear end is often cited as one of the ugliest ever seen on a production vehicle. The added plastic not only worsened the styling, it also increased the weight, straining the already anemic 52 horsepower engine. Where the Chevette was at least cheap, the Caballero was expensive, coming in at nearly twice the price while offering less performance and even more questionable looks. It's no surprise that only 97 were ever sold, making the Caballero a rare but unforgettable example of what happens when bad design meets misplaced ambition.